has to change. Joining us now is Ohio Congressman and member of the Ways and Means Committee and GOP Doctors Caucus, Brad Wenstrup. Congressman, welcome to the show. Good to have you on with us. Okay, the White House unwilling to negotiate, and we have Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen spoke about the demand from Republicans to include spending cuts in any deal to raise the debt ceiling. And here's what she has to say about it. Listen.
It's a very irresponsible thing to do. I believe members of Congress will understand that this would impose a self-imposed calamity on the United States and the world economy. And this is something that, while it may be used as a bargaining tool in the run-up to it, at the end of the day, Congress simply has to act to raise the debt ceiling.
Okay, self-imposed calamity there, Congressman. Republicans say that just isn't so. Why?
Well, first of all, it sounds like Joe Biden, or at least the administration, don't feel that they're able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Because, at one point she says, as the spokesperson says, that he's always willing to have these conversations. And then on the other hand, she says when it comes to the debt limit, we're not willing to have the conversation, just pay the bill. Look, Democrats have run this bill up. They passed one of the largest debt ceiling increases and ran it out in no time in the last couple of years. This debt or deficit that we're facing now, especially what's been added in the last couple of years, is on them. And I don't think it's unrealistic and to go ahead and have a conversation about how we try not to let this happen again, because we can't keep doing this forever. And American people know that. And so let's have the conversation at the same time. Look, we always end up paying our bills. Nobody wants our government to falter. They try to put fear into the American people that, there's some bad people out there that just want to take down the government forever. Well, no, we want to pay our bills, but we also want to be responsible, not irresponsible, but responsible, and having a conversation about how we can prevent this from happening going forward. And on that front, if they say they want to have that conversation, then let's have it right now while we're working on paying off our debts.
What would you say to people who say, well, under President Trump, the debt ceiling was raised 3 times. So what's changed now? Why won't you do it now?
Because it's got to stop somewhere. I'm not saying that it was good before. And so any time that we're doing this. Now, I would say that some of that was really brought on by the true emergency situations that we found ourselves in during COVID. Our country was about to just fall on its face. I remember Secretary Mnuchin, having great fear that if we didn't do this, spend some money, inject it in, that we were going to have a big problem. It's unfortunate that over the last couple hundred years, we didn't build into our federal government a rainy day fund, if you will, and have money there for emergencies such as COVID. We haven't done that, and maybe we should look at that going forward and into the future and have that conversation. And those are the types of things we should be talking about now. But COVID, it truly did drive a lot of spending. We got a lot of that done in a bipartisan fashion. But when Democrats got control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, then the spending just went through the roof. And it wasn't all COVID related, and it wasn't necessarily helping the economy. It's actually driving inflation.
So a new Rasmussen poll actually shows that 56% of Americans would rather have a partial government shutdown until Congress can actually figuring out spending cuts, which is actually the majority there, 56%. With that, do you have Democrats across the aisle? Are they saying the same thing as Biden, that they don't even want to have a conversation about this? Or do you have some alignment with them as well, and they see this should be a negotiation?
Well, I tell you, since we don't have all of our committees set up, we haven't been engaging with one another. The good news is we no longer have proxy voting, and people are going to need to be here and go to work because Kevin McCarthy has taken that off the table, and we have with our majority right now. So we'll have that chance to have that conversation. We're going to use extraordinary measures to pay our bills for a while. This has happened before. Americans have seen this movie before, so this isn't new. So we're going to have time to have those conversations. conversations. But our committees are getting set up, and I hope that we have robust conversations across the aisle about how we can do better if indeed they recognize that we need to do it. Because let's face it, there are some people that think it just doesn't matter how great our debt becomes. But when they really look at what we pay in interest and how that decreases discretionary spending, they got to take a look at it. And so, you know, that's an interesting poll that you have, you know, but I think what the American people are saying is the federal government is not frugal, and it isn't necessarily doing things like cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse, which there's been a lot of abuse, especially with, say, unemployment insurance. If we're not doing that, then maybe they just assume the government shutdown because then they're not spending. Look, we know there's things we always have to keep running, and we will talk about that responsibly, but we've got to look at ways that we pay for the things that we buy today and don't pass it along to our kids and act like there's no harm being done.
I'm out of time, but I want to ask you this before you go, because you're on the Doctors Caucus, and it is switching gears a little bit, but we have seen this administration really push their abortion agenda by way of removing some of the restrictions on the abortion pill. Here was Vice President Kamala Harris yesterday announcing the administration's memorandum. Listen.
Members of our cabinet and our administration are now directed, as of the president's order, to identify barriers to access to prescription medication and to recommend actions to make sure that doctors can legally prescribe, that pharmacies can dispense, and that women can secure safe and effective medication.
As a doctor, do you have concerns about the restrictions that have been removed from this pill and who will have access to it now?
Yeah, I always do. That's the same with any medication, whether it's opioids or anything else, even down to antibiotics. You want to know who's using it and why, because resistant bacteria can form. Look, we've done too much in this country to take apart the doctor-patient relationship, and that's where it needs to take place. But I will tell you, on the Republican side, with the doctors that we have here, we're pro-life. We make no bones about it, and we're there for preserving life. We took an oath, and we always said, do no harm, and let's try and improve the quality of life. We feel also that child in the womb is a human being that deserves protections in many ways, and so that debate will go on. But I just, I look back on Bill Clinton and how things are changed. Right today, Democrats celebrate killing a baby in the womb. They actually celebrate it. But even Bill Clinton back then said, well, let's have abortions be rare. Well, safe but rare. But look at where we are today with the cry. And you got Stacey Abrams saying that abortions help the economy. I just cannot get my head around that mindset. So we've got to have some say in this and declare some set of morals, values, and virtues that we can live with.
I am out of time, but I hope to talk with you again about this. Good to see you this evening, Congressman.
Thank you.